Welcome back to the Evolution series. It's Liam Scorer here, and today I'd like to talk about a gaming character, rather a villain from Final Fantasy VII, and one of the most favourite ones, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Now, this will just be going over the evolution of Sephiroth and the history. So first off, I'd like to start with why people love Sephiroth so long. Probably with his long silver hair, his katana, and, black coat he wears. Which makes him such a distinctive villain from all the other villains in the gaming universe. And welcome to the evolution of Final Fantasy VII's Sephiroth. Now, Sephiroth's story began in 1997 with the launch of Final Fantasy VII in 1997. This was a brand new game featuring many characters that would battle, and this was a kind of RPG game. Now, Sephiroth was indeed the final boss of Final Fantasy VII, but you'd also get to fight against Jenova. And speaking of that, Sephiroth was born, created by Professor Hojo, after a project called Jenova, or should I call it Project Jenova. This would create many strong warriors that would be more stronger than many other warriors, and Sephiroth was definitely included. Sephiroth has shown power many times in the games he's appeared in, and would battle against Cloud. Now, Sephiroth basically is more of a liked villain than another villain that nobody ever realises actually existed. And rather saying that, Sephiroth's venomous look is quite disturbing, seeing as you actually have to fight him at the end of the game. Final Fantasy VII got a remake in 2020, launched for the PS4, and is also coming to PS5 now. So far, the remake has only been on PlayStation consoles, but they're also bringing a remake for Final Fantasy VII that will look more like the original game, which would be called Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. This would feature many things, such as making the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children an actual game now. And just saying that, all the chapters will be free. Now, Final Fantasy VII wasn't actually Cloud and Sephiroth's first encountering. Now, Sephiroth actually met up with Cloud after they went on a journey together to battle villains. And Cloud actually got to witness Sephiroth's power because he was battling along with him. So Cloud and Sephiroth actually sort of battled together against some villains. And when Cloud was a kid, it says that he stood up to Sephiroth and he wanted to be just like Sephiroth. But then after he and all his buddies, pals, they found out that Sephiroth wasn't who they thought he was, or the good guy. Instead, he was a villain. And quite an intimidating villain as well. Now, Sephiroth's next major appearance after this was indeed Kingdom Hearts 1, where they had a Final Fantasy crossover, and guess who was a boss fight? It was Sephiroth. Now, Sephiroth looked quite different And also, yeah, it will be his return as well. And Sora would actually have to fight Sephiroth. But people didn't think Sephiroth would one day get in Smash before Sora at all. Now, Sephiroth's boss fight in Kingdom Hearts looks pretty complex. I have played something to do with Kingdom Hearts, like the free demo of Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory for Nintendo Switch, the free demo. But I feel like the other Kingdom Hearts games were sort of better. They sort of had more combat, and it wasn't just about music. It was about combat as well. Now, judging by the footage shown here, Sephiroth is a quite powerful villain, and yeah, this was his next major appearance. Sephiroth would yet again make an appearance in the Kingdom Hearts franchise in the second Kingdom Hearts game, as all the Final Fantasy characters returned into this game as well. But at the time Kingdom Hearts 3 launched, many years later, Sephiroth was gone from the series, and every Final Fantasy character was as well. And some people believe that after Cloud and Sephiroth disappeared from the game, they think Sephiroth and Cloud both went to Smash, both arriving at different times. Cloud arriving during Smash Wii U, and Sephiroth arriving during Smash Ultimate. Now, again, in the second Kingdom Hearts game, Sephiroth did put his power into place as a rather mighty ruler, mighty combater, and mighty warrior as well. Once again, trying to find Cloud to fight him. Now, just in case you're wondering, Sephiroth's next appearance was in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, a movie released by Square Enix. Now, unfortunately, I can't show footage due to copyright, but I will read a Wikipedia page about the movie. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children is a 2005 Japanese computer-animated film directed by Tetsuya Nomura, written by Kazuchika Noshima, and produced by Yoshinori Kitase and Shinji Hashimoto. Developed by Visual Works and Square Enix, Advent Children is part of the compilation of the Final Fantasy VII series of media, which is based in the world and continuity of the highly successful 1997 role-playing video game Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children was released on DVD and Universal Media Discs with Japanese voice acting in Japan on September 14th, 2005, and on April 25th, 2006, with English voice acting in North America and the UK. Advent Children takes place 2 years after the events of Final Fantasy VII and focuses on the appearance of a trio that kidnaps children infected with an unexplained disease. Final Fantasy VII hero Cloud Strife, suffering from the same disease, goes to rescue the children. He discovers that the trio plan to resurrect the villain Sephiroth using the remains of the extraterrestrial villain Genova, and he and his compatriots from the game fight to stop them. The film's voice acting cast includes Takahiro Sakurai, so that might be actually related to Masahiro Sakurai, Ayumi Ito and Toshiyuki Morikawa in Japanese, and Steve Burton, Rachel Laycock and George Newbern in English. The film has been released in multiple versions. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children Complete, released on Blu-ray disc in 2009, is the last version and adds 25 minutes of new and expanded scenes to the 101-minute original film. The film has received mixed reviews. Critics have praised its animation and CGI work, but the plot has been criticised as both incomprehensible to viewers who did not play Final Fantasy VII and as a thin connection between action scenes. It received the Maria Award at the Sitges Film Festival in 2005 and the Best Anime Feature at the 2007 American Anime Awards. The original release was one of the best-selling animated movies in its release year, but in both Japan and the United States, and the complete release was noted as driving a large increase in sales of the PlayStation 3 console in its release week. By May 2009, the DVD and Universal Media Disc releases had sold over 4.1 million copies worldwide. Now, there were actually some references in this film. Square, September 7th, 1997, Final Fantasy VII PlayStation SCE America. Error. How do you intend to become one with the planet? Sephiroth. It's simple. Once the planet is hurt, it gathers spirit energy to heal the injury. The amount of energy gathered depends on the size of the injury. What would happen if there was an injury that threatened the very life of the planet? Think about how much energy would be gathered. And at the centre of that energy will be me. And that boundless energy will be mine. By merging with all the energy of the planet, it will become a new life form, a new existence. Melding with the planet, I will cease to exist as I am now, only to be reborn as God to rule over every soul. Error. An injury powerful enough to destroy the planet, injure the planet. Behold, Sephiroth. Behold that mural, the ultimate destructive magic meteor. Now that didn't really have any points, but it appears there were over 50 references in the film. Sephiroth's next appearance after the successful film was Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. According to Wikipedia, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII is an action role-playing game developed and published by Square Enix for the PlayStation Portable. First released in 2007, the game is a prequel to the 1997 video game Final Fantasy VII and is a part of the Meta-series compilation of Final Fantasy VII, which includes other products related to the original game. The game primarily focuses on Zack Fair, a young member of the paramilitary organization Soldier, who is assigned to look for the missing soldier Genesis Rhapsodos. As he searches for Genesis, Zack discovers Genesis's origin, Project G, and how it is related to two other high-ranking soldiers, Sephiroth and Angeal Hooley. The game's storyline takes the player from the war between the mega corporation Shinra and the people of Wutai to the events in Nibelheim, ending just before the beginning of Final Fantasy VII. The game was directed by Hajime Tabata and Tetsui Nomura, serving as a character designer. Before development, the Square Enix staff initially planned to make a PlayStation Portable port of the mobile phone game before Crisis Final Fantasy VII, but after discussion, they decided to create a new game. The plot is based on a scenario Kazuki Nojima had in mind when working on Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. Enjoyed strong sales, selling over 3 million units worldwide. Critical reception was generally positive. The game's story is planned to be remade from scratch for iOS and Android as part of Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, along with most of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII game. So basically, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core is coming to iOS and Android, guys. I might do some gameplay on it when it launches, and it will be free. Everything will be free, so that's brilliant. Because then there's many games getting remade for the phone. Really excited, yeah, to see it and play it. Also, gameplay. Crisis Core is an action role-playing game in which the player controls Zack Fair. The player moves Zack through and between open areas, allowing him to talk with non-player characters, interact with the environment, and engage monsters in battle. As save points, the player may opt to take one of the available side missions, and if so, Zack is moved to a special area to complete the mission, which usually involves defeating one or more monsters. If the mission is successfully completed, the player is rewarded with beneficial items, and often new missions become available. Whether the player is successful in the side mission or not, upon completion, Zack is returned to the save point in the main game. Crisis Core uses a real-time combat system in which the player can move Zack around, initiate attacks, special abilities and spells, use items, and block or dodge attacks. Zack's abilities in battle are set by what materia he currently has equipped. Up to 6 materia can be equipped at any one time, which can impart special attacks, magic spells, or passive bonuses such as health increases, or the ability to display the statistics of the current foe in combat. Materia are gained throughout the game through exploration as rewards from the side mission, as spoils of battle, or from shops. Materia can be fused together to make more powerful versions with improved bonuses. For example, fusing an attack materia with an elemental magic materia can create a new attack skill materia that inflicts elemental magic damage in addition to physical damage. Special items collected in the game can also be used in materia fusion to further increase the materia's power. And that's all we're going to read from this page. Now, Final Fantasy VII Remake was Sephiroth's last appearance before Smash. This game was released on April 10th, 2020, developed by Square Enix. It was an action role-playing game and game modes with single player. According to Wikipedia, it says Final Fantasy VII Remake is a remake of Final Fantasy VII, originally released for the PlayStation in 1997. The game is entirely remade using the story and characters from the original and will be released in parts. Each game in the project will have a volume of content comparable to a standard Final Fantasy game. The disc version of the first game is a 2 Blu-ray disc set. The official title is Final Fantasy VII Remake to convey its status as a remake rather than a spin-off or sequel. The remake is a reimagining of the original game that goes deeper into the world and characters. The game is being developed by Square Enix's Business Division 1, helmed by Yoshinori Kitase as producer. The original director of Final Fantasy VII and Tetsuya Nomura as director. Original character designer, known as the director for Final Fantasy VII Advent Children and the Kingdom Hearts series. The remake was a surprise announcement made on June 15th during E3 2015 after years of rumours and fan demand. The debut gameplay trailer was shown on December 5th, 2015 during PlayStation Experience 2015. The first part of the project was set to be released worldwide on March 3rd, 2020, but the release date was pushed back to April 10th. The first part covers the events of Midgar from the original game. The game is 100 GB in size. A playable demo of the game was released for PlayStation on March 2nd, 2020, one day before the title's originally scheduled release date. On March 30th, 2020, it was revealed that the game had been shipped early to some consumers in Europe and Australia to counter any potential disruptions related to the COVID-19 pandemic of the time. Producer Yoshinori Kitase and director Tetsuya Nomura implored those who received the game early to not spoil the game for fans. And here we are, all the way to Smash. I have just named every major appearance Sephiroth has made in the gaming universe. Now, Sephiroth will continue to make many more appearances, or at least references. But right now, it's just Smash he's appearing in right now. So, what did everybody think on the Evolution of Sephiroth, a sequel to the Evolution of Mario? What character would you like me to do an evolution video on next? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!